Hello friends, welcome to Letterkenny Island Developers Group. So today is our 16th session and we'll be talking about preparing for admin certification and go in details about data management and the reporting and dashboard topic. I'm Nishant Singh Pawar, the community group leader for Letterkenny Island Developers Group, and I'm also a developer and consultant with TCS. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Nishant Force, and you can check out my blogs at nishantforce.com. I have 13x Salesforce certification, including System Architect and Application Architect. I'm Trailhead Ranger. I love music and play guitar for hobby. All the session recordings are uploaded on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, do like, share, and subscribe the videos. And also check out the playlist which are available for Lightning Web Components and admin certification preparation. Share with your colleagues and give some love. Quickly going to agenda, we have quite a lot to cover today. So we'll be talking about the community, and then we'll jump into the admin certification topics where we'll definitely see the exam overview, how it is structured and how to target this examination. And then we'll also talk in detail about the two topics, which is data management and analytics. We already did a session earlier on the user management and security. You can check out that as well. And then we'll also talk about those topics in brief and also what other topics are there in the exam. So about the community, it's we are part of the Letterkenny Island Developers Group. You can check out all the events at bit.ly LKSF Devs, and also join our chatter group, which is on the Trailblazer community groups at LKSF Chatter. And the official Twitter handles for our group are LKSF Devs, LK Trailblazers on Facebook, and bit.ly/LKSF videos for all the session recordings posted on YouTube. Okay, moving on to the admin certification. So what is Salesforce Administrator? So I'll start with the basic question. What is Salesforce Administrator? There's a quick video which I will run. And then
What is a Salesforce Administrator? Salesforce admins go by many names. They are productivity powerhouses, CRM rock stars, and Salesforce superheroes. They are your trusted advisors on all things Salesforce and a vital bridge between business and technology. So what exactly do they do? Salesforce admins can work on their own or as part of a team. They work alongside management to bring innovation to life, streamline processes, and keep the bottom line moving forward. Admins work hard to fight inefficiency and champion productivity. They probe the depths of the Salesforce ecosystem. They learn all of Salesforce's newest features and make sure every employee is up to speed. Salesforce admins are part advisor, part artist. They create awesome tools on any device, like easy-to-use dashboards, intelligent workflows, and apps for any project. And most importantly, they are there whenever you need them to keep your users educated, your problems solved, and your projects moving forward. A Salesforce admin delivers creative solutions, making your users happier and your business smarter. So next time you ask, what does a Salesforce admin do? Maybe you should ask, what don't they do? Learn more at admin.salesforce.com.
okay, so as we saw, right, there are many faces for a Salesforce administrator, and a lot of things which Salesforce administrator do. It's not just about administering your org, the Salesforce org. It's also about doing some developments which are configuration based, where it doesn't require any coding or any um, uh, things which requires a programming or something like I need to custom build something. So there are a lot of configuration features in Salesforce org which can be customized by the admin, and there are a lot of tools which are just UI tools which can be used by dragging, dropping the things, and or just a wizard which can be run by the admin, and then they can do manage their tasks. So the four major tasks which an admin needs to do on the day-to-day basis is, first is user management. So they need to manage the users in the org, and like whom to give access, revoke access, their profile, permissions, what should they see, what should not see, and manage the security of the overall org. So user management and security is the topmost priority for an admin to manage and keep a track on, that nobody's accessing the data which they should not, and so on, and also align those things with the IT security and the overall organization. Then comes some action items which are like data management and reporting. So the data which is sitting in the Salesforce should be good. So you need to maintain that data well. So you need to maybe load some new data, import it, export it, take some backups, and all those things. So that come under data management. And then there's a lot of data which other users and users are entering into the system, and the senior executive team or the management needs to always get the actionable reportings out of that data. So that also need to be built and prepared by admins to see a bigger picture or the summary views of all the data which sits in Salesforce. So these are major four responsibilities, and we already talked about two, and we'll talk about the two more, which is data management and reporting today. Now talking about the exams overview. So high level on the exam, it is 60 questions, plus there are 5 additional questions which are not evaluated. So only the 60 are evaluated, 5 are additional questions which are put in by Salesforce just for evaluating themselves. They see how the response is coming for those questions, and then they might incorporate in the actual exam in future. Overall time for the exam is 1 hour 45 minutes, and you need to get 65% score, which is like 39 or 40 questions. You should make sure you get it right out of those 60 questions, and you get the results immediately once you submit the exam, and it's a closed book and a proctored monitor. So you can also do on-site, where you can go to a center and then give exam, but due to the COVID restrictions, maybe you can also take online proctored, where you sit in front of a webcam and some proctor is seeing you through that webcam, and he's monitoring you while you give the exam. And then you have the fees, which is $200 for first attempt, and if you do not clear in the first attempt, you can retake the exam for $100. Now talking about the content. So overall the content is 20% for the user setup and security, which is the most important part, I believe. And then you have data management and reporting, which is also 20%, plus some automation questions around 8%. And then comes this portion, which is really important to learn, which is the existing Salesforce implementation. This whole area is about what Salesforce has built and given us as a sales and service applications, standard objects, and how to build some custom objects, some basic platform information, which is 40%. But this is something you would learn when you go and run into Salesforce. You would see what are the accounts, contacts, sales related applications in Salesforce, and the cases, those service contract, those things in the service application. So that's something also to be looked into for the examination. So then looking into these focus topics, right, what we split it out. So these are the focus topics. If you try to cover these 5 focus topics out of that overview, you should be able to at least go through 62% of the examination. And then out of which the remaining portions are some basic questions like organization setup, currency setting, app exchange, which is a managed package repository where everyone can build their application and put in app exchange. You can download in your org and use those applications. So these are some small topics which can be definitely read through and understood. They would be very straightforward questions for them, but the understanding questions are out of these 3 focus topics, out of which the first priority is everyone should understand the security and user setup model. This is very important for an admin role, which I think we already covered in a previous session. So that you can check out at this link, bit.ly/lk-admin. So we did this session, I think last year, same time around, and you can check out the recordings as well of that session in YouTube. Then today we will be talking about these 2 topics in detail, which is data management and analytics and reporting. So we'll cover these to the 20% of more of the examination, and then there is left out some workflow process automation. I think I talked about this also in quite detail in the last session in the security part. I will just quickly run through that today also, because I want to cover these 2 in detail, but I will quickly run through this also in brief. And then there is a standard custom objects and things. So I will just give the high level of this as well today. So these are the focus topics we'll again go through today, and we'll just go through data management and reporting in detail. Okay. So moving next, security. So this is the old session which we did, so I will not go in detail. I'll just quickly skip the slides and run through them. So these are the high level topics or points under the exam guidelines. So if you read the exam guide, you will see these topics, and you should try to prepare your exam based on these lines and try to understand each word in this line. And you should know whatever is written, you are aware of in the Salesforce org. So on the security, this is the high level structure, onion peel structure, which Salesforce follows for the security, where there's the outermost security on the org level, which can be defined by the IP ranges, login hours, and all those things. And then you have object level, which can be defined by the grant permissions, create, read, edit, access. And then comes on the object, you have various records, which can be secured or shared with each other using OWD, role hierarchy, sharing rules, all of this. And then on each record, there are various columns or the fields, which can be secured using the field level security and page layouts. So I'm not going all in the detail. You can just refer the previous session we did on this link. Then the organization access, how the users have access to the org, which is the active users, frozen users, how they log in, what's the profile, role, permission sets, how they affect the users access in the org. So these are important topics. And then understanding how the permissions vary on the profile level, how the role gives them some access, and all those things. And also understand in detail the sharing model. So once you have defined the user roles and profile, you should also give up them access to some of the records. And to open up the access, you define all these different tools which are there to give access. So on the top level is profile, which gives some specific set of permissions to them. Then you can open up the access using the OWDs. OWDs, org-wide default for records, which can be like private, public, read-only. And then you open up more access using the role hierarchy, sharing rules. There are teams access. So some questions might come around this also, like account teams, opportunity teams, and case teams. So these three are special objects which have the teams in it. And the last is territory management. I think there are not in detail in this exam about territory management, but this just to know that there is again as another tool to split up the territories of your region and then share the data based on the territory or the address in it. Okay, so coming to today's uh, main agenda, which we're gonna talk about, so it's data management. So data management is basically working out with the data where you want to set up the data in the org for the end user's benefit. And the exam would be asking you various questions around importing the data, updating the data, transferring it to some other user. So transferring is basically changing the ownership of the data, and also deleting the data. So these are various uh, four different zones of data, what you can do with it. And also it will ask the questions on a scenario basis, like it will give you a hypothetical scenario, and as the admin, what decision does you take um, to handle that particular scenario, and how to manage it by choosing a right tool. So you need to also understand what are the different tools available in Salesforce for this, and which tool does you use for managing the data. And also understand the validation rules and the validations in place for data in the system, and how it can impact your data management. So like if you are loading some data and there are some validations in the system which can fail the data load and the files which are going in. And lastly, you should also understand uh, how to back up the data, how to export it and take the backup for the critical situations, and you want to make there a fail safe situation. And also this data management is very important, as in because it is a course which is a part of most of the certification, like admin, app builder, PT1, and even any certification. If you think of even the sales cloud, service cloud consultant exam, there would be a small portion of data management somewhere, which so it's very important topic for overall to understand. And so there would be six questions, around six questions, which 10% weightage. So there would be six questions out of 60 around data management. So a good amount of coverage you get when you cover this topic. So looking around what all we can do, so we can insert the data into the system, we can update it. So update also includes the transfer, so transfer of the ownership. So transfer word is specifically used in Salesforce term when you want to change the owner of the record. And blank update is basically updating any other field that's update. And then comes upsert. So it's a special a DML operation in Salesforce where you can do insert and update both together. So upsert basically does two things: insert and upsert. So if the record has an identifier or the ID, so it can be a Salesforce ID or external ID. We'll talk in detail about what is ID, Salesforce ID, external ID. So if it has that ID matching in the existing data in Salesforce, it will update the record based on that ID. And if there is no ID matching found, then the system would insert that record into the system. And then you have exporting capabilities, so you can take the data out from Salesforce and keep a backup in your local or somewhere stored in a system. And then you can also delete the data which is not relevant and garbage in the system. And to handle with all these operations, you have various tools in Salesforce, um, which is like import wizard. So import wizard can be used to load data directly. Then you have Dataloader, which is a client application to do it, data management. And then you have also inbuilt Salesforce tools like mass transfers to transfer the ownership, mass delete to delete the data, and export service to take the backups. And also you can use reports to export the data from Salesforce. So we'll talk into all of these topics again in detail once we go forward. Okay. So data import wizard. So data import wizard is basically uh, a tool which is a GUI or the wizard tool in the Salesforce org itself, which can give you ability to load some data into Salesforce. And I would not go and open this and give a demo. I will just mainly focus on the from the preparation point of view. We'll see the notes, and you can definitely go in and run these things. And also I have given links for the Trailhead live session. So if you check out these links here in the PPT, you would see a 30 minutes video in detail about just data import wizard. So you can also refer those videos if you want to understand more in depth and see a working demo of these things. I'll just run through the high level understanding and from the preparation point of view, what things you should know about data import wizard. So talking about the data import wizard, so we can uh, load data from the UI in the Salesforce itself. So you can launch this wizard from the Salesforce org. So basically it's very admin friendly, sorry, and user friendly tool. So not for admins mostly, but you can give this permission for using this tool to the end user. So it's like there are some sales reps which wants to who want to load the leads into system. You can give them access to this import wizard, and they can load the leads into system, bulk load. Like they don't want to create one by one leads in the system. They can use this import wizard to load like 200 500 leads into the system directly on a go. So it gives you a very good user-ended tool in the system. So what all we can do is this wizard would ask you various prompt questions. So first it will ask you about the object, for which object you want to perform the action. And it's not available for all of the standard object. There's only specific account, contact, lead, solution, and campaign members as the standard object, plus any custom objects which you build. So on the custom objects, you can choose any custom object which you have built and some specific standard object. And then you choose what to do with the data. So you want to add new records, update the records, or update and add. So this is the upsert functionality which we talked. So insert, update, and upsert. So you can do all of the three operations from import wizard. And then you can also do matching here, like if you are inserting the leads, you can match the existing lead based on the ID, external ID, or even with email. So if you want to do the matching with email, so you can find existing leads which match with that particular email and stop loading those data into the system because already a duplicate exists with that email or so. So those kind of matching or deduplication also gives comes with this. And then you just put the drag and drop the file here, CSV file, and then you do the mapping of the field. So there would be CSV headers which you need to map to the fields in Salesforce, and then load the data. So Now talking about there is admin tool. So there is an admin tool which can be used by the admins for doing the data management. So this is a very robust tool which gives you all the operations like insert, update, upsert, delete, hard delete. Hard delete is basically deleting from the recycle bin as well. So whenever you delete a data, it goes into recycle bin for 15 days. And if you do hard delete, it deletes from the recycle bin as well. And then you can export the data, and export all is for exporting the data from the table as well as recycle bin. So it's not exporting all means exporting all the objects. It means when you're exporting particular objects, so when you select export and you select account, you can export the accounts in the system. But when you select export all and select the account, you can export the accounts which are in the org plus the accounts which are sitting in the recycle bin to be deleted. So this is a very good feature to take export of data which is sitting in the recycle bin. And so this is an end client application. So you need to install this in the system first. It's available for like Mac, Windows, all different type of operating system. It is there, and then also you can load the data into system using these all different operations which we have. And this can be used for high volume of data, whereas an import wizard is only applicable for limited data, which cannot be for high volume. So this is a very robust tool which can be used for high volume of data as well. Okay, there is a question around this, so which is, can you include the logic if data translation is needed before importing the data importer? Yeah, so definitely translation is something you need to do if you want to do the mapping yourself. Like, so if you see the accounts and contacts, it would already do the mapping. But if there are objects which are interrelated, so you, let's say you're loading one data which is parent, and then you want to load the child data, you need to do the mapping or join them with the IDs. So basically you need to extract the Salesforce IDs of the inserted data and then map that IDs to the new table which you're loading, so that it gets linked to uh, the parent. So parent child relationship when you want to make it. So you need to use those IDs and use VLOOKUP to match those IDs and then do it. So that kind of manipulations need to be done in the CSV file. And also you need to do various cleanup or cleaning the data to make the import go well. So we'll talk about those import cleanups and how to make your CSV ready for the import. So we're talking about how, when to do the considerations, when to choose which tool between each other. So basically you would be given a scenario to choose between Dataloader or the import wizard, and you need to decide it based on what are the various options available in the system. So if you want to import data which is less than 50,000 records, so if it is less than 50,000 records, you would go with import wizard. And then if it is uh, definitely, because you only have some specific object which you can choose. So if that's the case, you can go with import wizard. Otherwise, if that object is not part of import wizard capability, you would go with data loader. And the additional capabilities which comes with import wizard is you can prevent duplicates when doing the import, and also you can choose that automation runs or not. So you can based on that scenario also choose if you want to go with import wizard, which is not available in data loader. So in data loader you cannot prevent duplicates based on some matching of email or addresses and those things, which is available in import wizard. But when you want to load a high volume of data or anything else apart from all of these scenarios, if there are anything else in the scenario which you want to cover, you would go with data loader. So this is a important point to consider when doing the data loader. So like if you want to save the mappings for future, so if you did some mapping of your CSV file and the same CSV file is being used multiple times, you can choose data loader, and then you can save the mappings of those CSV headers with the Salesforce columns, which you cannot do in import wizard because it's a on the fly tool. The wizard runs on the fly in the org, and then you do it, and then that's it. So you can't save those files in the local system anywhere. And also you can load some other standard objects which are not part of the import wizard with data loader. And also you have ability to export, delete, hard delete, all those things in the data loader as well. So moving next, so these are some pointers or points to note, how to remember these things for the exam. So you can remember the objects based on this some small acronym I have, like CC class. So CC, custom objects, contacts, campaigns, and leads, account, solution. So these are the acronym you can remember for remembering the objects which are available in import wizard. Anything else, other object comes in the scenario, so there would be the combination of these things like operation, volume, and what is the object, do you need to do prevent the duplication or not, and there would be combination of these three things, and the question will try to give you a challenge to resolve that problem, and what is the tool which you would be using in that particular scenario. So based on what things comes in the question, you need to rule out which is the wrong answer, or if you can choose both in that particular scenario. So if the exam presents a challenge about an object which is not part of import wizard, then you would go with data loader. And if the object present, the question also have the challenge about two things. So it is saying the volume is less than 5,000, but the object in the question is case. So it says when if you want to given a scenario for universal container wants to load 5,000 cases record and also prevent duplication. So you would think, okay, prevent duplication less than 5,000 import wizard, but no, cases are not part of the import wizard capability. So you cannot load cases from import wizard. So then you option you have is data loader. So that's how question in exam would try to trick you against the clock, and you need to answer it correctly. So then you can take these pointers as a reference and remember those points and pick the right choice. Okay. So now coming to the import file consideration or translations, or how to make sure that the file is in a good shape to be loaded into the system. So what considerations you should do is when you are doing import, yes, I think there is a question that can you repeat the saved mapping? Yes, you can use the existing save mapping again next time for doing the mapping if they are same. So if the headers remain same in your CSV file, you can pick them. So coming to the file consideration, so if there are things which you need to consider before the import, so that the import goes fine and nothing breaks. So there would be scenario that you are doing insert and the import fails and nothing got inserted. So you should know why it failed and what are the things which might have failed it. And beforehand, you can take these considerations to make sure that the file doesn't fail. And there are a lot of considerations in the org which you should do, but from admin exam perspective, I think these five points which I have put here are the most important which should be considered. So first one is universally required fields. So if there is a table object in which you have a universally required field, then there should be data inserted in that field. You cannot leave that field as blank. So you can't leave it unmapped or blank. If you do so, it would generate an error and stop you from loading that particular record. It will fail. And then comes the owner field. So owner field should be always mapped so that the right owner get assigned. But if you don't do it, then whoever is loading the data becomes the owner, because owner is also a mandatory field in Salesforce, and all the security sharing works with the owner field. So based on the owner, it works. It does all the sharing and security. So the owner field should be populated. So if you keep it blank, the default owner would be the person doing the import. So it's important to get it assigned to the right owner so that the data gets shared with him or her as well. Then comes the currency field. So you must have seen there is a currency field on the every record to which it is tied with. So you can provide the currency ISO code in the CSV file to map it correctly. And if you don't put the ISO code, it would also default to the importing user's currency. So user also have their default currency set in their user record, and the one who is importing the data, it would set to that user's currency. And also if you try to put a wrong ISO code, so like the ISO code for dollar is USD, and if you put USP or something, so it will fail. So if the incorrect ISO codes in the column, that would also fail. And then we can talk about other things like data validation. So you can set up some custom validations. There are also standard validation in Salesforce, like the email should be of a email type, like it should have @something.com. So that is a standard email format. If that format is not matched, then also data fails. And if there are custom validation rules you have set in the system, that the discount cannot be greater than 25% or something like that, then also the data load will fail if you try to break those validations. Then the last one is pick list values. So there are some fields which are of pick list values or the drop down type in system. So those pick list have some set of values which you can assign them to, right? And if those pick list values are restricted, so there are two type of pick lists, restricted and unrestricted. So if the pick list is restricted, then you can only choose the values which are defined in that set. So like if you have a rating field and you have given 3 ratings into it, hot, warm, and cold for a lead, okay? And then if you try to put any data with something like lukewarm or ice cold, something different than what you have in the defined values, it would fail. It would not load the data. So you need to do that cleanup beforehand. When you get the CSV file, you should make sure that the data is in line with the configurations in the system. Okay. So moving next, so these are again standard tools. So we finished different scenarios like import, update. Now we want to transfer. So that's again easy thing. So here there is a no complication. So it's always we have a mass transfer record tool in Salesforce for admins to do that transfer. So which gives the admin access to transfer the data on a bulk basis. So if you want to transfer all the data which is associated with one user to another user, you can use this tool. So let's say there would be a scenario like a sales rep owning some accounts is changing the roles in the company and moving to another region or something, and he should not be having ownership to these accounts, and some other rep would be taking over those roles. So in those scenarios, or if the person is changing the company, he's leaving your company and somebody else is joining in place of him, so you should transfer the accounts to that new member, so that the ownership also changes and the data sharing, everything changes with that owner change. So it's an important security consideration to transfer the data to the new user. So that can be done with uh, this mass transfer tool in Salesforce. And you can pick the right option, and you can also transfer the related records. Like if you're transferring accounts, you can also transfer the open opportunities along with the account. You can transfer the close opportunities, close cases, activities. It would show up all those related options in the menu, and then you can transfer those data with other users. And also the users themselves will have access to transfer it, but they can transfer only one record on the basis. So like if they have the full access, which is vested access, like view, edit, share, transfer, delete, which is a full access on a record. If you are owner of a record, you have the full access on the record, so you can transfer your record to somebody else as well. So that transfer access, if you have uh, given to you, then you can transfer your own records as well. So that button would be appearing on your record, and you can just transfer that one particular record. But when we want to do it on bulk, then you would be using this mass transfer account tool built for admins. So that's the transfer tool. Now talking about export. So exporting data, which is very important for any of the DML operations you are doing. So if you are inserting, you are updating, you should always take a backup of the data in your system before you do that manipulation, so that you have a fail-safe scenario, that if something fails or there is an error, or you incorrectly loaded some data, or broken the data integrity, you can load the previous data back if you have taken the backup. So to do the backup, you need to export the data from system. So there are various options. So first option is manual export. So you can create a report of any object and export the data manually from the system. And then you have option of data loader. So you can use data loader to export the data from there, and that can be also manual or automated. So you can manually run the data loader application and export the data, or you can automate it by putting it into a command line interface and run that application through some shell scripts. So you can automate also the data loader application, the client application from your machine, and do some automated backups. But if you are looking for a full backup scenarios, Salesforce has a tool which is called scheduled data export or a data export service, which can be used to automated export of the data. So you can define a frequency how you want to export the data, like weekly, monthly. If you choose weekly, it will ask you which day of the week, and if you choose monthly, it will ask which day of the month you want to export the data. And you can also include the images, chatter files, all that along with the data which you are exporting, and then it can be put into schedule. Once the file is prepared by Salesforce, it will send you an email to download the data. So it will prepare a zip file, and that zip file will be available for 48 hours. So the zip file is available for 48 hours, and you can download that zip file within that time frame, and then it's removed by Salesforce. So that's the data export service can be used to for full backups. Mostly for full backups, you would be using this data export and backup service by Salesforce. Now coming to the delete. So delete basically when we want to do the cleanup. So basically this would be known by the user, right? The end users would know which data is now not relevant. Admins might not know because they are not working with that live data. So in that scenario, you can set up some time with the end users, have a call to determine what are the data you want to be deleted, and then in that session you can add some flags to data. Like in the name, I've seen like some scenarios that people would be adding like to be deleted, trash, or zzz in the data. So you can add those into the name and those things, and then at the end admins can use this mass delete record tool to delete all the data based on that filter. So in the filter, you can set name contains zzz or to be deleted. So and then you can pick that data with this mass delete tool and then delete the data. Once you delete the data, it will again go into the recycle bin and stay there for 15 days. And you can keep restore back from the recycle bin if you want to within that 15 days of time, or if you want to delete it from the recycle bin also, you can open the recycle bin in the org and delete it. So in the recycle bin there are two views. One view is called org recycle bin, which will have all the data deleted by anyone, and then there would be one view called my recycle bin, which will contain only the data which you deleted. So and then you can choose the record from there and restore or purge from that recycle bin. So but anytime you do delete operation, definitely use the export service and take a backup before you delete it, even if it is it's a bad data meant to be deleted, but still take a backup before you delete and then delete it, so that in case if you want to put it back, you have a data stored back in your local system to put it back if you mess something up. And also if you want to delete it permanently, not put in the recycle bin, you can check this checkbox called permanently delete. So it will delete it from the recycle bin as well and not put in the recycle bin. So but again, mass delete record is only available for these specific standard object like account, lead, activity, contact case, solution, product, reports. But any object apart from this or any custom object, you need to go to data loader. So for data loader, you need to use application to delete. So there you need to first export the data, get the IDs of those records, and then use the delete option and pass those record IDs into the data loader, and then it will delete those records. So for data loader, we need to do two steps. So first is to extract the data with that particular filter criteria, what you need to delete, and it will give you all the records out with the Salesforce IDs. And then you can use the delete operation using data loader and pass those Salesforce IDs into that CSV file, and it will delete those records with that particular Salesforce IDs you have. But this tool gives you directly a feature. You just filter it and then delete it. You don't need to do two-step thing here in the mass delete record tool. Okay, so we have covered all the topics. I think the data management areas what we have, but the last topic we want to cover is the deduplication. So there are matching and duplication, deduplication can be done for the data. So first is for the import wizard. So deduplication in Salesforce itself, there is a tool called duplicate management, which gives you ability to manage the duplicates, like who is creating duplicates. It can block the user on the UI. So that is for UI level. So when user is creating or putting the data in the user interface, it at that time duplicate management, if set up in the org, will prompt that user to block the user to insert the data. And also it will give you reports on who is creating those duplicates and those things. For this exam, duplicate management is not in the syllabus, or it won't be asked in that detail, but you should understand the deduplication for the import wizard. So the import wizard do duplication, and that is done based on some particular matching. So there are different matching which can be selected when you load the data. So when you are loading contacts and lead in the system, you can do deduplication based on name, email, Salesforce ID, and external ID. So these are the four different fields based on which you can do duplicate management or deduplication while loading the data. Similarly, for account, you have account name and site, which can be used for deduplication, and then the Salesforce ID and external ID. So Salesforce ID and external ID will be there for all of the objects, but for standard objects, you have some more features in import wizard, like you can also do the matching with email. So if the contact exists with the same email, you can not load that data and prevent it from duplicating in the system. So those kind of things are there. Now these are the different matching. Now what about the Salesforce ID and Excel ID? So what is the difference between these two? So these are two different type of IDs we have in Salesforce, right? And we will talk about that also in detail, like what is Salesforce ID, what is the difference between Excel ID. And then you have the IDs, right? So these are the IDs. So you would have seen this in the URL, there would be an 18-digit ID in the URL, which is basically nothing but a unique Salesforce ID given to a particular record. So every record in the Salesforce will have a unique ID, 18-digit ID, which can be used to determine that particular record. And in the beginning, the three letters of the ID determines the object. So 001 represent account. So all the account IDs will start with 001. And if you see 006, so this is for opportunities. So 006 are for opportunities. So you can see these are the different opportunities available with this ID. And you can use these IDs for the matching as well. So if you this ID exists in the system, it will update the record, and if it doesn't exist, so if you keep this ID as blank, it will insert this record. So when you are doing those upsert operation, that time also this ID is very helpful, and also you can use this for duplicate management. Now coming to what's the difference between Salesforce ID and Excel ID. So these IDs, you would be always using it for the matching and doing the VLOOKUP in the CSV file when relating the each other data. So when you are want to relate the data, so you have inserted the accounts, and once you insert the account in the result, you will get the CSV file back with the IDs. So once the accounts are inserted, you get the CSV file back with the account IDs, and then you are loading the contacts. So then you can use VLOOKUP to match those account with and the contacts. So that you can do with Salesforce ID or external ID. So these two IDs are available in Dataloader as well as Import Wizard for doing this matching. Now, what is the difference between Salesforce ID and Excel ID? So Salesforce ID is for Salesforce system when you have this 18-digit ID in Salesforce system. But now if you want to store another ID which is from an external system, so let's say you have SAP system which contains all the accounts in SAP, and in SAP they have a unique character or digit something representing the account, a unique ID in that external system, and you want to bring that into Salesforce for doing all this matching in future. Instead of Salesforce ID, you can use that external ID field in Salesforce. So there are external ID field in Salesforce. Uh, uh, so it's not a field or a data type in Salesforce, but it is a flag to be marked on a field. So any field which you mark as external ID will be then treated uh, as a relationship or foreign key. So this would be just a checkbox on the field. So you can check this checkbox, and then this will be treated as external ID. So again, the question might come in the exam: what all different type of fields can be made as external ID? So the data types which are available for external ID are email, text, or number field. So if the data type of the field is email, text, or number, you can mark it as external ID in the system and then use this for matching. So that is the external ID coming into system. And you can have like 25 external ID fields if you want on an object, and it supports all the custom object as well. And also on the standard object you can create a new custom field and mark it as a external ID. So this helps you integrate those two systems like data. So the data is coming from SAP on the continuous basis into Salesforce, so you can use the external ID of that uh, other system and join it with the Salesforce. So the data flow between two systems can be eased up with this external ID. You don't need to remember the Salesforce ID in those cases. Okay, so next is analytics. So before we move into analytics, I'll just quickly see if there are any questions around okay, does the relationship also get saved while using export service? No, like we need to export the data differently. So you need to export the account separately. You cannot export two objects one time. You need to export them separately and then relate them or load them back one by one. So you cannot export multiple objects at the same time. Okay. Now going to the analytics. So analytics is about reports and dashboards. So what topics we have in this? So we should know how to create and customize a report. What are the different options we have in the report to be created and customized, and then how the sharing of the data sharing model impacts the report. And also we should understand the dashboard. So dashboards are the visuals to be added to the reports, and how can we leverage dashboards to show different visuals to those reports. And last is the capabilities of custom report type. What are the custom report types and what are the different capabilities available in the custom report type? So let's see into them as in action. So first is talking about the reports. So reports, if we talk about reports in Salesforce, on the high level, we can see these are the various questions which can be in our mind before, or the considerations in our mind before we start building a report. So first we should understand, whenever we are building a report, what report type will I choose? So that will tell you what are the objects or what are the related objects. Should it be a standard report type or a custom report type? All that questions will come in your mind, and you should answer them before picking or creating that report. Then you should understand what's the scope, what's the time frame of data we are looking for, and what columns, basically the fields which need to be displayed in the report from that particular object. And then comes the grouping, which is the summarizing the data. So you can summarize the data on the row level or a column level, and based on that summarizing, it builds different type of reports, which are called report formats. So there are four type of report formats: summary, tabular, summary, matrix, and join. And then on the data you can apply some different filters and logics to limit the data, and also show some charts and highlights for the visuals on the report. And finally, you can also export the data in a CSV or Excel file from report, and also subscribe to email snapshots. So email snapshots are something, it will run the report on a specific schedule time you told, and will keep sending you the CSV file with the link to that report in your org. So these are different features which are there in the analytics capability for reports. We'll talk about dashboard as well, but these are the main things what you can do in report, and you should understand all these points thoroughly. So let's go into for the first point, which is report type. So report type is basically a representation, or it gives you possibilities of the report, what all you can possibly have in that report. Like what are the objects which will be there? It can be one object or can be multiple objects which are related with it. You can have those objects in it. And what fields will be there in that report which you can use, like the direct fields on that particular object, or you can also have fields from the parent object. So you can bring that parent fields into the report, and what would be the default column. So when you initially pick that report type and select the report, by default it will give you some fields, some columns set there, and then you can customize it. You can remove some columns, add more columns while building the report. So what will be the default columns that comes with the report type? And then you have the filters. So what filters will be set as a default, and you can determine that also with the report type. And it gives you the foundation of the report. So report type is basically, you can understand as a foundation of report. Again, I would not go in the screen. I'm opening it and showing all in detail one by one, but you can visit the Trailhead live sessions and check the recordings. It would have like 30 minutes of session just on the report type and so on. So that will give you more demo kind of thing. If you want to see that, I will just talk the high level and try to give you the notes point of from the exam perspective. So there would be different, definitely questions on the report types, like a standard report type versus custom report type. So this is an important topic, that which report type will you choose for a particular scenario. Will it be a standard report type or a custom report type? So standard report types are basically ready-made, given by Salesforce out of the box. You don't need to build them. But custom is something you need to make your own. So in the standard, you get the basic relationship in the object. So like if there is a parent-child relationship, you will get the relationship for them. But it won't give you 3-level or 4-level relationship in the standard report types. And also it will only give you with reports. So we'll understand with, what is the difference between with and with or without. So basically it is, uh, think of that as a two objects, so account and its child contacts. So the standard report which says account with context, so the standard report type will be account with context. So basically it will give you this inner join of the account and contact. So you can only see those accounts which have contact associated with it. But what if you want to report on account data which have contact and which don't have contact? So you want to report on the whole as an outer join, or the full join, full outer join, and then want to see the account data which have contact, then it shows the contact details. But if it doesn't have contact, it still brings that account data in my report. If you want that kind of scenario, you need to build a custom report. Salesforce out of the box will not give you the outer join scenarios in your report types. It will only give you inner join reports, which you can straightforward leverage. And these standard report types gets created when you check the checkbox available for reporting. So when you create a custom object, there would be a checkbox called available for reporting. So if you check that checkbox, the custom object is available for in this report types. The standard relationship of those custom object will be available in report type. But if you are building any custom reports with a different type of relationship with outer join, then you should use custom reports. And here you can also do different combination, like account with contact with activity. So you can go to up to 4 levels of relationships, parent to child. So up to 4 uh, depth level you can create a custom report type as well. So that's again a benefit you get when you create custom report. And in the custom report type, you can also reference the parent related fields in your report. So you can bring the parent related fields in your report. You can limit some fields if you don't want them to be visible, to just clutter the space in the report. You can remove those fields and rename them or organize them differently in a different section in the report. So all that you can do in the custom report. Okay, so now once you have the report type set and created, you need to create the report, right? So there are different types of report you can create. So there is a difference between report type and types of report. So that is called report formats. So report type is basically giving the foundation or the objects, fields, and everything. Now once you have the report type selected, you need to create a report, and that report can be of 4 different types, which is tabular, summary, matrix, and join. We'll talk about join as well. So these 3 are the standard reports for a particular report type which you have selected. So that report type which you select will give you the object, all the fields. So when you display a simplistic view of the uh, object, which is the list of the records which are associated with that particular object, and you filter them, that is called tabular report. So there is a one record per row and you see it. So that's the tabular way. And then when you start summarizing it or grouping it, then it becomes a summary. So summary should always have one row level grouping. So this is a one row level grouping where you can see it is grouped by stage here. So you can group the data with stage, and you can see the subtotals on the level of the stage. So prospecting is having subtotal of amount of 100,000. So 100,000 euros is the subtotal for prospecting, and so on for different stages. You can do the subtotal and you can get the grand total of the amount, and you can summarize the fields once you add the grouping in the report. So summary should at least have one row level grouping, and it can have maximum 3 levels of grouping. So stage, and then you can do the second level grouping by account name, and then you can do the third level grouping by account owner. So you can go up to 3 levels in the grouping for a summary. Now for matrix, you can think of a pivot table. So when you have grouping by row as well as column, so sorry, so when you have grouping on the row and the column level both, then it becomes matrix. So matrix should have at least one row level and one column level grouping, and maximum it can have 4 groupings. So 4 groupings, like you can have either 1:3, one grouping on the row and 3 grouping on the column, or 3 grouping on the row, one on the column, and two on each, but it can have maximum 4 groupings. So that is matrix report. And well, the good thing is now in Lightning, you don't need to choose these report formats like tabular, matrix, or summary. What type of report I want? You don't need to choose this. You just start creating your report, and then you do the grouping. And as in when you do the grouping, it will automatically choose the type of report. So like report format, whatever it is. So if you have done grouping on the row as well column, it will understand that it's a matrix type of report, and it will start showing you the pivot table, and also it will show you the details at the bottom. So that will happen, taken care by Lightning now automatically, and you don't need to define that. In earlier Classic, we used to also have to define that what type of format I need to choose. Like I want to have a summary report or a matrix report, that you need to choose. So the last report format is join. So for join report, you need to specifically choose if you want to do a join report. So on the top report, you would have option to either have report or a join report. So you need to uh, choose this option when you want to create a join report. So that's a special case. So you need to always, here in this scenario, fourth case, you need to choose that type. So once you select the join report, you will have ability to add multiple blocks of report type. So now think of multiple reports sitting together. So this is a one report for opportunities sitting here, and then you have another report for activities sitting here. So there are two objects where we are reporting on account, on opportunities and activities in the same report. So these are a joint report, and in the joint report, there must be always a unified field which bind these or a common field between these two objects. So like here you can see account ID is the common field. So account is common for opportunities as well as activities. So it will show me the opportunities which are there for this Burlington textile account, and also it will show me the activities available, like there is an email session, all these thing in the screen side by side. So that is a benefit of using join report, where you can see different object data compared together sitting next to each other. You can even have the same block, like you can have opportunities block here and the same block repeated here. Here you can see the closed opportunities, and here you can see the open opportunities, and you can compare or quickly compare those data between each other. For account ABC, you have these two different type of opportunities. So there are 5 closed opportunities and 4 open opportunities, and so on. So that kind of thing can be done with join report. Okay. Moving next is a summary field, summary formula field. So for summary formula, you can create 5 formulas on a report, summary formulas at the max, and these are custom. So you can see with this word custom, so you need to build them by yourself if you want them, and you can only build them for summary or matrix report, because these are the summarizing formula. So for that, you need to first select the format as a summary or matrix by doing at least a grouping on the row level. So at least if you have one grouping on the row level, you can create your summary formula. So for example, you want to create a report which also shows the win rate of opportunities. So here in the screen, if you can see, maybe I'll try to zoom. So you can see this, the formula here is won sum. So sum of the won divided by closed sum. So you want to see all the opportunities which are won, and you are doing the sum of those opportunities. So this is a record count. And then you have the sum of the closed opportunities. So what all opportunities are closed. So you can see those closed opportunities there. And the difference, the rate would be the won rate, because close will include the won as well as lost. So this way you can uh, create a summary formula and show them on the grouping level. So for a particular account, what's the win rate currently ongoing? So then you can also add that at the row level. So optionally you can add that at row level formula also. So row level formula is basically where is the replacement of formula field. So instead of creating a formula field, you can directly create a row level formula and put it in the report. If you don't use that formula in the system and you just use it for the reporting purpose, you can optionally add the row level formula. It's only available in the Lightning experience and recently added. So it's maybe use case would be like you want to show age of the opportunity. So what's the current age of opportunity? Then you can see kind of subtract the close date with created date. So when it got created and when it got closed, you can have a difference of the time and show it as a age. So how much time the opportunity was running in the system and got closed. So that you can create those kind of formulas to compare what's the trend going for the current opportunities in the system, how the reps are closing the opportunity, and so on. So that would be custom summary formulas we can create in the system. Once we have that, we also need to show some visuals on the report. So we can show different type of visuals in the report, where we can uh, put different charts. So there are 8 type of charts which we can show in the system. So you have bar chart, column chart, stacked bar, stacked column, line, donut, funnel, and scatter plot. So these are different 8 type of charts can be put up into the into our reports on top of it as a visual. So you can only add one chart in a report. If you want multiple charts and that kind of thing, so that is something we'll do with dashboard. But for a particular report, if you want to add a visual, you can choose this option. So again, these are different options we have. So donut would be basically when you want to show some segments and a share of a whole. Funnel is for mostly for life cycle fields where you want to compare the distribution. So like opportunities flowing from qualification, proposal, negotiation, and won. So this many of the opportunities we have won. So 1 million of the amount have been won, and this much amount, 4 million or something, is in prospecting stage, and so on. You can see that trend of the stages flowing down. And then comes the chart. So basically the scatter plot is for correlation between the groupings. So different groupings and you can correlate them between each other. So that comes in the scatter plot. And then bar chart is for the grouping. So you can group the data and show the subtotals and draw them on the x and y axis with some parameters like account, stages with the amount, and those things. And then also line chart for the time-based scenarios. And most important, I think this stack bar comes in a examination scenario also, like when you would use the stack bar. So stack bar would be used when you have multiple groupings. So one level of grouping is the on your x-axis. So you can see the stages or accounts on the x-axis, and then you can do the second level of grouping of those accounts with the owner or the stage, what stage it is, and so on. So when you have multiple groupings, then you can use this stacked bar chart. And you have both options like horizontal and vertical. So stack bar, stack column, bar, and column. So these are single grouping, these are multiple groupings, and then you have the other options as well. So you should understand what are the report charts available in report to be added. So you should know all these names as well for the admin preparation point of view, and which one to use in what scenario also is important. There would be questions around that point. Now looking into dashboard. So dashboard is again a combination of many report charts. So on the report chart, you can add one chart, but if you want to add multiple representations, multiple visuals all together in a single view, you create a dashboard. So you can add all those report charts which are there, plus you have some additional also additional components as well here. So if you see here, so you have uh, all that 8 components, plus you also have a tabular component. So this is a tabular component, sorry, yeah. So here you can see this is the tabular component at the bottom, and then you have gauze and metric. So gauze and metric are basically uh, this is a speedometer kind of thing which is called gauze. So where you want to show a numeric value. So this is a numeric value, but you want to plot it against a minimum, maximum, and a range. Like what's the minimum value? This is the low range. This is a high range, and where the my value exists. So that kind of thing you can do with a gauze. And metric is basically just show the number in a formatted way. So numeric formatted way is a metric. And also similarly, you can have a table, just a table of data with 1 or 2 columns displayed in it. That's a tabular. So along with that 8, you have 3 more, which is gauze, metric, and tabular. So that is also a question which sometimes comes in exam, which is like, what are the different components which are in dashboard, not in visual, not in report chart. So it will be asking you question maybe like, what are the different report charts, and there would be option for metric gauze in the option, but metric gauze are not available in the report chart. They are only available in the dashboard. So you should understand what are available in dashboard, what are only available in chart, and so on. Okay, so a quick recap of all these different components to understand what they are. So the very simplistic one is table, to show the tabular data directly in dashboard. So when you want to show tabular data directly in dashboard, you choose table and show that report data into system. Then comes the metric and gauze, so which shows the totals. So all the grand totals which are there in the report can be showed uh, on the dashboard with a range. So if you want to show with a range like a speedometer, you can use that gauze thing, and you can show that with the minimum, maximum, and also the highlights of the range. When you want to format a number and show it, you can use the uh, formatted number using metric. So metric will show that number in a formatted way. Then comes the grouping data. So all the grouping data, these are the charts which we have in the report as well. So these are the chart features which shows the grouping data. So you have bar chart where you want to do summary level grouped either in the horizontal or vertical bars. So that is the bar chart. And then stacked bar chart is where you have multiple level of grouping. So either on the row level or a column level, if you have multiple grouping, you can use stacked bar chart to show them in the dashboard. Then line chart. So line chart is also again for grouping of some data, but line chart is the best use case when you want to show variation over time. So there can be question around this. If you have a grouping or variation around time, what's the chart would you be using? So the answer would be line chart. So line chart is always used when you are grouping the data by date or date time field. Then the donut. So donut is when you want to show segments or slice of the whole based on the grouping, then you use donut component. And funnel is to show the progression of the life cycle fields, like opportunity stages, case stages. So those pick list fields, any pick list field you have, and that kind of scenario you have where you want to show the relation between the different life cycle, how it is flowing into that life cycle, like cases are open, now closed, how many are in progress, and so on. So that kind of progression you can show by the funnel chart. And the last one is scatter plot. So scatter plot is to show the correlation or deviation between different groupings. So when you do different groupings, so multiple groupings, and then you can show, plot them on x and y axis to show what is the deviation between those two groupings. Okay, so I think that's all about the analytics part we have. And also, I will just quickly, I think because of some glitch in the beginning, we lost some of the time. So I will run through the other topics very quickly. I think these are also there in the previous session, which we have done. So workflow, process automation. So what are the workflow rules, what are the different actions which we can do with the workflow rule. So these are the different 4 actions which are available in the workflow rule. And what are the evaluation criteria, rule criteria. You should understand these things from the workflow rule perspective. They are not used now. Instead of workflow rules, we have process builders in place which should be used. So you should understand also process builder, what are the different components of process builder, how to select the object, what's the different nodes in the criteria nodes, and actions, immediate actions, schedule actions. So, and from exam point of view, you should understand the difference between workflow and process builder. So there would be again hypothetical scenario, and what tool would you use for the automation? Will you use workflow or a process builder? So that kind of scenario, you should understand what are the capabilities of process builder. Like it can create a record. These are some additional things which it can do apart from the workflow things. But also important thing to note is like it doesn't support outbound message. So process builder will not support outbound messages. And again, like I think covered them in detail again in the previous session. We can do more session on these automation specifically if you want. Just share your feedback and comment with me that if you want a session, we can just specifically talk about the automation or standard custom object topic. I think we'll try to cover that as well in one of the session in coming future. Then in automation, you should understand about these topics like web to case, web to lead, email to case. So these are the standard automation in Salesforce present to automatically get the data created. So web to case is when you want to create a form on the website, a support form where people enter some data, and you get the data inserted into Salesforce cases. And then web to lead is to capture the new leads or contact forms. So when you put a contact form on your website, somebody fills in information, a lead gets created in your system, those kind of things. And then you have email to case. So email to case, when somebody sends you an email on a support@xyz.com, automatically a support case gets created in your system. So but there is no email to lead. So there is no email to lead feature. So you should understand what are standard features we have in Salesforce. Now, talking about assignment rules, auto response rules. So these are automatically email sent to the end users that you can, how you can tell them that you have received their query, you have received their response, and you will get back to them in future, those kind of things. So those are the automation. Then you have, for specifically for case, there is a thing called escalation rule. So you should just know on the high level escalation rule what it is. So it is basically whenever you are having things like when you put a case in a system and then it is sitting for a particular queue for a period of time, that 4 hours or 6 hours, and nobody has taken any action on it, then it get automatically escalated to next tier, like support tier 2 and those kind of thing, and get notification and all those things. You can do that. Also, I have added into this previous slide these Trailhead live links. So these are really good sessions, like 30-minute sessions on one particular topic. You can go through them. It will clear all the concept. You will see a quick demo as well of those tools, and then help you understand them in the visual. You do Trailhead, read them, but these Trailhead live sessions will give you a demo of that in runtime, and then you can do it your own once you see that. So that kind of thing you can also leverage from these links I'm adding into the slides. So, and then there is a concept called early triggers, which you can read. I think this is to prevent the SLA breach and those things. I've also talked about that. Check that. Then coming to the standard custom objects. So which to choose, when to create a new object, when to create a record type instead of creating new object, and page layout. And then uh, object relationships, like what are the different standard objects you have. For sales you have account, contact, opportunity. For service you have case, and for marketing you have campaign and leads. And the leads get converted into account, contact, and opportunity. So I think somebody asked a question that lead to account, right? Lead conversion. So this is something basically when you have leads in system and you can convert that lead using the lead convert button, and that creates a contact in the system as well as account in the system. And optionally, if you want, you can create an opportunity also. So there would be a question around this, what objects can be created from a lead. So you can create account, contact. When you convert the lead, one account will be created and a contact will be created. So whatever information is there in the lead, so lead company will become the account name, and the lead name will become the contact name. And optionally, if you want, you can create an opportunity. So this is the optional object to be created when you convert one lead. So that's the lead conversion you should also understand. And then validation rule. This is a really important point, because it is part of data management again. So you should understand different validation rules which are placed in system. So you can create validation in system, and the validation rule or the formula always should be the error formula. So if the discount percentage greater than zero point 0.2, it means when it is greater than 20%, it would throw the error. So you should put the formula here, which is the erroneous condition, so not the good condition. So the formula should evaluate to true when the data is bad. So when the data is bad, it should evaluate to true, and then it shows error on the screen. So that's about validation rule as well. And okay, so I think we covered all the um, topics today. Again, I want to go on the high level some exam tips which I would give to anyone preparing for admin certification or any certification. For fact, you should follow these five things in your preparation as well as in while your exam. So first is very important for the multiple answer questions. So there would be multiple answer questions, so you should understand that you should choose the right combination of the answers. So even if you miss one or you add one extra, your answer gets as incorrect. So there is no partial answer, partial marking. It's either fully correct or wrong. So there is no partial option. So you should understand the exactly right combination you should choose. So that is very important for the multiple answer questions. Then you have a review flag, which is very helpful for the preparation, because you should relate it with the time. So you have around 90 to 95 seconds for one question to attempt. Some questions would be very easy, which you would know the answer quickly within 10 seconds of it. You would be able to answer the right thing. So you can answer those questions quickly, and the questions which are uh, tedious or where the scenario is tricky, you should put a review flag and come back later to review them and then try to answer them. Give them more time which they need. Some questions would need more than 1 minute or something. So in those scenarios, you should uh, review flag them and give them more time later. If you try to give them time in the beginning itself, you would waste a lot of time, and you would then hurry up in the end of the part. But generally, I feel it's sufficient time there in the exam. It's not need to, you should not need to hurry, and read all the details of question. So all the details of question means there would be a slight not, or should be done or should not be done, that kind of thing in the question. So you should not miss those words in the question. It is framed in such a way you would see some high level words like 5,000 records and cases, um, and you would see that sorry, you should see 5,000 records and lead and duplicate management. So then it's quickly in your mind, it some see that okay, the answer is data loader, but there could be scenario that there is a not in the question which you missed to read. So the question is looking for an incorrect answer. So that time you answer the right answer and your actual answer becomes wrong. So you should read all the details of the question and answer it as what is required. And then last is hands-on. So you should do some hands-on practice in the system, so that you are familiarized with those tools, and even if there is a question somewhere nearby around those things, you would be able to tackle those questions. Lastly, some additional information which is like you should know and go through them. These are very helpful places to visit. So first one is Web Assessor. You should know Web Assessor. You should register yourself on Web Assessor, where you would be registering or scheduling your exam. And then you have Trailhead, Trailmix. So Trailmix, you can do all those modules and badges to do your study preparation and visit those Trailhead live videos. I have given a lot of links in this session as well. You would have content of around 1 or 2 hours in this PPT links as well. You can go through them to prepare those Trailhead live videos. And then lastly, there is a certification day webinar. So there's a 5 hour admin prep session organized by Salesforce, which happens every month. You can visit that webinar as well, and you can prepare for your admin exam just like this. This is a quick one which I have done in 1.5 hours, but there will be 5 hour session are done by Salesforce, which goes some more in depth. It won't go in detail of teaching you everything, but that would be again a prep session for all the topics. Here we are taking only some specific topics, right? And then you have some online quizzes and flashcards which you can do for memorizing things, and then join the chatter group. So you should join the chatter groups which are there out for admin collaboration. You can talk to the people there and see that. And also we have the chatter group, and in our chatter group I have posted a admin guide, preparation guide, which again have all these links and topics there in that admin guide which you can access. So I'll just quickly show these things to you where they sit in the system. So if you go into the org, let me, yeah. So on the Trailhead, you can go to, if you see this, just give me a minute. So on the Trailhead Live, you can go and see on the Learn, there is a Trailhead Live. If you go here on the Trailhead, you would see the Trailhead Live videos. So there are a lot of videos, existing videos, which you can scroll through and see. So these are for the report types, and so you can just do view all and then filter them by the admin role. You will see all the sessions which are relevant to admin, not for admin certification, but relevant to admin. And then here, if you want, you can just quickly control find and check for profile. So if you want to just focus on profile, just understand profiles, there is a 20-minute session just talking about profile. Then if you want to see about escalation rule, so you can just do escalation rule. There is a session on escalation rule. Maybe you need to do view more and see there would be one at the bottom somewhere. So try to find some sessions here which are there for admin preparation, and then uh, listen to them and try to understand more better. So these are the tailored live sessions. And then you have the trail mix. So this is the Trailhead trail mix for the admin certification preparation, which break down the modules based on the weightage, like organization setup, user setup, security. It's break down them, and then you can go through these super badges and all these different modules in the system. Then you have this page, the credential page. So you can go to credentials, and you look for admin certification credentials. So you will see this page which has all the link to prep. You have the guide, so you can open this exam guide and see the weightage and all that content we saw in the PPT. You have all that here when you want to go through. So go through this guide and try to understand each and every point which is there in this guide, like these all different topics. Yeah, the weightage, so organization setup, what are the things you should understand. You should understand each and every word of this guide, and you should know what tool in Salesforce would be applicable to handle the scenario. So you should know OWD, you should know role hierarchy, all this, whatever is written in this guide. This is the web assessor link. So webassessor.com/salesforce, you register yourself and then uh, schedule your exam here. Then coming to the chatter group, so we have the developer group, Letterkenny developer group. So you can ask to join this group, and once you join this group, you would be able to access this admin certification guide, which is a PDF file I have put up here, which has the links to study different trail mixes, some Udemy courses if you want to refer to, and then you can also do some practice. I think even if you don't go with these Udemy courses, I think the Trailhead live sessions are really good. Those are like the Udemy course is a one big course which have all those videos, But if you go to these Trailhead live videos and try to find what you are studying, you can do that without even going to these Udemy courses, I would say. You can read all these Trailhead live videos, which are similar to Udemy courses. Then you can do some practice quiz. So there are on site some practice quizzes which you can do, and there is a certification day webinar link I have given as well, and you can listen to the recordings of our YouTube channel. I think I will put the link for today's session as well. And you can give some mock exams by Salesforce, which is worth $20, and some also help links. So you can check out all those links as well. So that's about all the questions and all the things we have. Let me see if there are any open questions. We'll take any questions if we have. Yeah, so if you cannot access the guide, first try to join the chatter group. Once you join the chatter group, you will be able to access the guide. So first join the chatter group. So LKSF chatter is the URL for the chatter group, and then you would be able to access the file. Let's see if we have any questions which I haven't covered. Okay, I think I don't have any open questions which I didn't cover. I think there is one question. Have you tried creating custom report type where you have one primary object and two secondary object? What I see is just one primary and one secondary and level under that. Yes, we cannot do that way. Yes. So for custom report types, you have primary object, and then you can pick multiple child. So when you select one child, you can go below that and find the child of that object. But you cannot create two child objects in a one report. So if I go into that slide where we had this visual, yeah, so this visual, so you can have account and then you can have contact. Now if you want to link one more object, you can link the child of contact, but you cannot link another child of account. So account has contact and account also have opportunities, so you cannot create a report type which have account, contact and opportunities. No, I think that's not possible. What you can do is you can have account, contact and then contacts activities or something like that, but you cannot create directly account, contact and opportunities in a report type. But if you want that kind of scenario where you show account, contact and opportunities, you need to go for joint report. So you create two report types, or you use the standard ones like account with contact and account with opportunities, and take those two reports and join them based on account in the join report. So that's a scenario where you go for join report and not try to create a report type which includes all those three objects, which is one primary and two secondary objects of that particular one. So that's about the how to create different report types. Okay. Okay, no other questions. So I think that's all for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.